Most people think economic crashes happen overnight. They think it's a sudden event, a bank run, a market flash crash, or a declaration of war. But if you look at the ledger of history, you'll see that the collapse is actually the final sigh of a system that has been suffocating for decades. Take the Ottoman Empire. In the mid-1800s, they were the sick man of Europe, not because they lacked resources, but because they had entered a debt trap that was invisible to the average citizen in Constantinople. Today, we are seeing the exact same mathematical patterns emerging in the global economy. In this video, we are going to break down the 5 silent signals that precede every major financial crash. These aren't opinions, they are the historical rhymes of math and human behavior. By the end, you'll know how to spot the trap before it snaps shut. Signal number 1. The interest inflection point. This is the moment a nation stops borrowing to build and starts borrowing to survive. Historically, when interest payments exceed 20% of tax revenue, the government loses its fiscal space. They can no longer respond to emergencies. We'll look at the decree of Ramazan. The Sultan had to admit that half of the empire's revenue was going strictly to foreign bankers. This left the empire unable to pay its own soldiers. When the people protecting the border aren't getting paid because the interest on a loan is too high, the empire is already dead. Signal 2 is the most insidious: monetary debasement. When the debt becomes unpayable, governments have 3 choices: default, tax, or print. Default is political suicide. Taxing leads to revolution. So they choose the invisible option. They print. We saw this in the Weimar Republic. We saw it in the late Roman Empire. And we're seeing a modern version of it now. This is why, as we explored in Why a Good Salary Feels Like Nothing in 2026, your purchasing power is evaporating. Let's look at the M2 money supply versus the CPI. When the gap between money created and goods produced widens beyond a certain historical threshold, it's a silent signal that the debt is being liquidated through your savings account. Signal 3 is the cost of complexity. According to historian Joseph Tainter, societies collapse when they reach diminishing returns on complexity. Debt traps force systems to become more complex to manage the debt. You see more regulations, more bureaucracy, and higher maintenance costs for society. Look around. Is it getting harder to build things? Is the bureaucracy growing while the actual physical world, the roads, the bridges, the power grid, is struggling? This entropy is a mathematical precursor to a reset. Signal 4 is the institutional exodus. Smart money never waits for the crash. They leave when the signals we've just discussed become undeniable. Before the Ottoman collapse, the elite moved their wealth into gold-backed foreign currencies and tangible assets. Today, we see a massive movement into hard money and alternative assets. This is exactly why my analysis in The 7 Safe Assets Rich People Buy Before Every Financial Crisis is so critical. If the captains of the ship are getting into the lifeboats, you should probably stop looking at the buffet and start looking at the water level. The final signal is the most dangerous: the loss of the narrative. Money is a social contract. It only works so long as we all agree it has value. The silent signal here is when the public stops believing the government's economic data. When the average person looks at official inflation numbers and laughs, the contract is broken. Once trust is gone, the velocity of money changes. People stop saving and start hoarding. That is the final stage of the trap. These 5 signals aren't meant to cause fear. They are meant to provide clarity. The debt trap is a cycle that has played out for 2,000 years. Understanding the history is the first step, but history is useless if you don't apply it to your own ledger. Here is your 5-point action plan to audit your financial exposure before the trap snaps shut. 1. The debt-to-income audit. Action. Calculate your personal interest inflection point. If more than 15% of your take-home pay is going toward interest, not principal, just interest, you are running your personal life like a failing empire. Goal. Aggressively pay down high-interest debt now. In a crisis, liquidity is king and debt is a chain. 2. Evaluate your currency counterparty risk. Action. Look at where your savings are held. Are they all in one currency, in one banking system? Goal. Diversity across jurisdictions. Consider holding a portion of your wealth in assets that aren't someone else's liability, like physical gold or decentralized assets, as we discussed in our Safe Assets video. 3. The complexity trim. Action. Look at your recurring expenses and subscriptions. In a debt trap economy, complexity is what drains you first. Goal. Simplify your financial life. The fewer middlemen between you and your survival needs, the better. 4. Secure hard skills over soft assets. Action. Identify one skill you have that is recession-proof. Can you repair things? Can you produce food? Can you manage crisis logistics? Goal. In the final stage of a debt trap, the loss of narrative, people stop trading paper and start trading value. Be the person who provides value. 5. Establish your network of trust. Action. Who are the 5 people you would rely on if the banking system went dark for 72 hours? Goal. Build your community now. History shows that those who survive economic resets are those who have a localized network of trust. Economic ledger is about looking at the math, not the headlines. If you want to dive deeper into how to survive this exact scenario, watch my breakdown on what it feels like to survive an economic crisis. Stay ahead of the ledger. I'll see you in the next one.